So let's look at the top challenges for dental practices in 2024. I have a report here, and I just want to go over a few numbers that jumped out at me. I have a report here, and I just want to look at a few numbers that jumped out at me. My name is James Fleming. I'm an outsourced CFO. I'm also an accountant. Now, this report, I think, was developed in 2023, and they were asking dental practices for 2024, what are you concerned about? What are your top three challenges? Coming in at number one, 60% answered staffing shortages, recruitment, retention. Not really a surprise here. This has been a problem across the medical industry and really across pretty much all sectors, I think, in the economy. And this really comes down to dental hygienists, dental assistants. There's a lot of employment opportunities out there. And if employees are not happy, both from a salary and wages point of view, but also working environment, time off, benefits, they have the ability to leave. So dental practices need to make sure they have a system in place for fairly compensating employees, rewarding employees that are doing a good job, making sure that employees are getting feedback, doing annual reviews. I actually just made a video on having a compensation system in place. What that means is really just having a formal system that has several steps, and the dentists, the owners, maybe even the managers are following that. Now, at number two here, we have 50% answered that this was a concern. Low insurance reimbursement and denials. Now, obviously, if you're not getting paid, your top line revenue is going to suffer, your gross profit's going to suffer, and then your net income and your take home pay is going to suffer. So our revenue driver is a critical driver. And if you're not getting reimbursed, you have to look at that. And actually 40%, according to this report, 2 out of 5 or 40% are actually considering leaving some of these insurance networks. And then we have at 21%, number three, increasing overhead costs. That's not really surprising. We've had inflation. A lot of costs have gone up. So if you have access to the accounting software, really what you want to do is run a transaction report to see every single line item, every expense under office supplies and software. You want to look at utilities. You maybe even want to compare it to last year and the year before that. Very easy to run those reports. And then you want to see, can you find it cheaper? Can it be renegotiated? Can you maybe even eliminate some of these expenses? Now, this is really more of a short-term strategy because at the end of the day, the reason rising overhead costs are affecting your net profit is because you're not charging enough. So your top line revenue, even if it's going up, is not going up fast enough to offset the increases in your supplies and materials, payroll, and your overhead. So that's really the driver, the revenue driver, is how that's going to get fixed, which also goes back to staffing shortages. If your production is low because you can't find people, revenue is going to suffer. If your mix of insurance plans and dental plans that your office sells, as well as self-pay, is not the right mix, your top line revenue is going to suffer. And then also collections, which is really more of an AR function. But if that is suffering, you're not going to have cash flow, which is also going to hurt how much profitability and how much money, how much cash is in the bank account and how much you can pull out. So I will link this in the description below. This is just a nice summary of what the common challenges are. There is some more data in this report, but that's really the key takeaways. This is what dental practices are struggling with right now.